All right. You know what I say about vanity, man. All right, guys. I suggest me to tell carnival stories a little bit here. So I'm going to try it one time, see what happens. I'm going to ramble on a little bit here. I'm going to tell you I have many carnival stories. But this is one that I really like because it's something that I see on the internet all the time. I'm going to tell you how I turned an 8-year-old little girl that didn't weigh more than half a sack of potatoes, and how I turned her into the most lethal weapon in the United States Air Force arsenal. Let me tell you the story how I did this. This was 20-something years ago, maybe. It was a long time ago, 20 years, if not longer. And I was already management by this time, in the business. And I would give breaks to people, hey, slow, everything's slow, go take a break, I'll run the ride, blah, blah, blah. One of the particular rides that I'm really good at, that I'm a specialist, is Ferris wheels. And anyway, I give this kid a break. I'm like, go take a break. It's really slow. It'll be busy tonight. Take a long break. I'll watch the ride. As long as I'm running the ride, of course, this was godly intervention. It had to have been. But anyway, sitting there on the ride, and this little girl walks up to the ride, and she was not tall enough to ride the ride. She was not. And she come up, and I'm like, "You're on the ride?" She's like, "Yeah." And I stand next to the sign, and she was about, and hey, girl, stand up on your toes. Get up on your toes. And she did. And she was tall enough to ride. So I put her on the ride, And I'm riding around with her. And she didn't weigh anything. I didn't even know she was on the ride. Couldn't even tell she was on the ride. She didn't weigh anything. I don't know how much you know about carnival rides, but they're all about weight, But anyway, a little while later, this teenage girl shows up. And she gets on the ride. Of course, she was plenty tall enough when I get on the ride. Take the tickets, All right, whatever. And I'm like, all right, I'm tired of this, And I throw the teenager off, and I forget about the little girl because she didn't weigh anything, and she'd been going right by me the whole time, I mean, I knew she was on. I don't know, man. I let the teenage girl off, and then that little girl, she was up at the top, and I forgot about her. I sure did, man. And she had no effect on the ride. She had no weight. She didn't move the ride. She just got away from me. And I'm sitting there, whatever, waiting for this kid to come back and break, whatever. And this other carny comes walking by, and he's like, "Hey, TC, man, you got a kid up there, right?" I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, there's a little girl up there." I was like, thanks, dude. Don't tell anybody. I'll buy you lunch, And I brought her down. Tears just rolling down her face, I'm like, "Oh, baby, I'm so sorry, man. I am so sorry, man, And I couldn't explain to her why, that I left her up there, that she didn't weigh anything, that she was insignificant in the gravitational pull of Earth, And, she gets on the ride, whatever. And she runs down the midway. And she jumps right into Grandma's arms, and I'm sure it was grandmother. And why she wasn't in school, I'm not sure, because, it was sometime, whatever. But whatever. I see her sitting down there, and there's, the midway was slow, whatever. And so of course, I'm a manager, so I just shut the ride off. I just shut it off. I walked down to the bench, the courtesy bench that they were sitting. She's got her face buried in Grandma's bosoms. I'm like, Grandma's, and she's like, she'll be fine. She'll be fine. I said, listen, baby, you have the golden ticket. You will never pay to get on that ride again. You can ride that Ferris wheel as much as you want if you're brave enough to get back on it. If you're brave enough to get on it, you and all your friends ride free the rest of the night, or for as long as I'm on it, which is only about another 30 minutes or so. And I said, there you go, whatever. And I went back to the ride and turned out. Sure enough, man, about 30 minutes later, she pops back up and said, I'm going to do it again. I'm like, all right, man, get it. I spun her forwards, backwards. I did everything that, I broke all the rules, showed her a good time, and let her off. Said, there you go, baby. And I may not be here later, but if I am, you always get a free. Wherever you see me, you get a free ride. 10 years would go by. The fair would go on. We'd just tear down. We'd move down the road. 10 years would go by. I'd be at the same fair, a different Ferris wheel with a different group of people. It was the same type model of Ferris wheel, but a different group of people. Anyway, same thing, man. I give this kid a break. I'm running, I'm standing right, whatever. And this woman comes up to me, and she's, in her 40s at least, 50 maybe. And she goes, sir, did you run this ride like 10 years ago? And left a little girl up at the top. Of course, I'm like, I plead the fifth, and she's like, no, that was my daughter. That was my daughter. And I just want you to know that she is now in the Air Force. She went to college, joined the Air Force, and she is now training as a fighter pilot. Because she is afraid of nothing. And she always bragged about how she never was afraid of the Ferris wheel. I created one of the, and I've seen her. I've seen videos on the YouTube. I've seen her. She's grown up now. She's probably like 30 something, maybe now. This was a long time. It was like 20 years or something ago, man. It was a long time ago. But I've seen her. And I'm like, that's her. That's that kid. Yeah, man. I created one of the most lethal weapons in the U.S. arsenal on a Ferris wheel with an 8-year-old little girl. Welcome to the carnival business. Love the one you're with. And I'll holler at y'all later. Let's see how this video goes.